Have you ever wondered why humans don't have tails? It sounds strange, but the answer is fascinating. Many animals, especially monkeys, use their tails every day. So why did humans lose theirs? Scientists have searched for this answer for many years. The story begins millions of years ago. Our ancient ancestors slowly changed over time through evolution. Every small change had a reason. Believe it or not, you still have a tiny reminder of your tail. It's called the tailbone. The tailbone sits at the bottom of your spine. It's all that's left of an ancient tail. Long ago, our ancestors had much longer tails. These tails helped them balance while climbing through trees. As our ancestors changed, they began moving differently. Their bodies slowly adapted to new ways of living. Nature doesn't keep features that are no longer useful. Evolution is always finding more efficient solutions. So how exactly did humans lose their tails? Let's continue the amazing journey through evolution. Around 25 million years ago, our ape ancestors began looking different from monkeys. One big difference was the missing tail. Most monkeys still have tails today, but apes, including chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, and humans, do not. Scientists believe the common ancestor of all modern apes had already lost its tail. Instead of running along thin branches, many apes started climbing and swinging with their powerful arms. Strong shoulders and flexible arms became more useful than having a tail. As movement changed, the tail became less important for balance than it had been before. Over many generations, the spine slowly changed. The tail became smaller and smaller. Evolution works like a giant puzzle. Tiny changes build up over millions of years. These changes didn't happen overnight. They happened so slowly that each generation looked almost the same. But what actually caused the tail to disappear? The answer may be hidden deep inside our DNA. The biggest clue wasn't found in fossils. It was hidden inside our DNA. Scientists studied genes to understand how tails develop before birth. One important gene is called TBXT. It helps control the growth of an embryo's tail. Researchers discovered that a small genetic change affected how this gene worked. That tiny DNA change may have helped stop tails from growing in ancient apes. Even a very small mutation can lead to huge changes over millions of years. To test their idea, scientists performed careful laboratory experiments. When researchers changed the same gene in mice, many of them were born with much shorter tails. This gave scientists strong evidence that genetics played a major role in tail loss. But if losing a tail was possible, why did evolution keep this change? That's the next piece of the puzzle. As ancient apes evolved, standing upright became more common. Their bodies slowly adapted to this new way of moving. Walking on two legs freed the hands for carrying food, tools, and even babies. Having free hands gave our ancestors a big advantage in survival and daily life. They could make tools, defend themselves, and explore their environment more effectively. At the same time, the hips and lower spine changed to better support upright walking. A long tail was no longer as useful as it had been for life in the trees. Instead, muscles, bones, and the inner ear helped humans maintain balance. This is how natural selection works. Helpful traits become more common over many generations. Evolution doesn't plan ahead. It simply favors changes that improve survival and reproduction. But here's something amazing. Human babies still briefly grow a tiny tail during development. Let's see why. Here's something incredible. Every human embryo briefly develops a tiny tail during the early weeks of growth. This tiny tail is a normal part of human development before birth. As the embryo grows, the body begins changing very quickly. The small tail doesn't continue growing like it does in monkeys or many other animals. Instead, it appears only for a short time during early development. Over the next few weeks, the tail becomes smaller and smaller. Most of its tissues are absorbed into the developing body as the spine continues to form. By the time a baby is born, the visible tail has disappeared. All that's left is the coccyx, or tailbone, quietly reminding us of our evolutionary past. But every now and then, nature surprises us. In very rare cases, some babies are born with a small tail-like structure. Why does that happen? We'll explore that next. Very rarely, a baby may be born with a small tail-like structure. These cases are extremely uncommon. Doctors study these rare cases carefully to understand how human development works. In many cases, the structure is related to early development of the lower spine and nearby tissues. These rare conditions are different from the functional tails seen in many animals. Each case is unique, so medical specialists evaluate them individually. Small changes during development can sometimes produce unusual physical features. Here's an important fact. These rare cases do not mean humans are evolving tails again. Evolution doesn't move backward in a simple way. Rare developmental differences are not evidence that our species is reversing course. Science helps us separate fascinating facts from popular myths. So, if humans no longer need tails, why do we still keep the tailbone? The answer might surprise you. Even though our tails disappeared, the tailbone never completely vanished. The coccyx still helps support your body, especially when you sit or lean backward. Several important muscles and ligaments attach to the tailbone. These connections help support the pelvis and contribute to normal movement. The tailbone also plays a small role in maintaining stability and posture. So, while the tail itself became unnecessary, part of it remained useful. Evolution often reuses existing structures instead of removing them completely. That's why the coccyx is considered a vestigial structure with important modern functions. In other words, it's a reminder of our past that's still helping us today. Now it's time to bring everything together and answer the big question once and for all. Let's quickly review the incredible journey. It all began about 25 million years ago with our ancient ape ancestors. Unlike most monkeys, these early apes no longer had long tails. Over millions of years, small genetic changes slowly shaped the bodies of future apes and humans. As tails became less useful, evolution gradually reduced them until only the tailbone remained. Natural selection favored traits that improved survival, movement, and daily life. That's why humans still have a coccyx, even though we no longer have a visible tail. Scientists combine evidence from genetics, fossils, and embryology to understand this evolutionary story. When different kinds of evidence point to the same conclusion, scientists become more confident in their findings. So far, every major clue fits together like pieces of one giant puzzle. Now there's just one final question. What can the story of our lost tail teach us about ourselves? Our missing tail is more than an interesting fact. It's a clue to our incredible evolutionary history. Every part of the human body has a story to tell, even the parts we rarely think about. By studying evolution, scientists learn how small changes can shape entire species over millions of years. When we combine fossils, genetics, and embryology, the puzzle becomes much clearer. The biggest lesson is simple. Life constantly adapts to changing environments. Humans are just one branch on the enormous tree of life, connected to countless other species. Science keeps asking questions, testing ideas, and improving our understanding of the world. There are still many mysteries waiting to be discovered, and that's what makes science so exciting. The more we learn, the more we realize how amazing the natural world truly is. Now let's wrap everything up with the final answer to the question we started with. So, why did humans lose their tails? The answer is a combination of evolution, genetics, and millions of years of adaptation. As our ancient ape ancestors changed the way they moved, tails became less useful and slowly disappeared. A small genetic change helped shape this process, and natural selection allowed it to spread over time. Today, the coccyx, or tailbone, is the only visible reminder of our tailed ancestors. Fossils, DNA, and embryology all support this fascinating evolutionary story. The biggest lesson is that even tiny changes can have enormous effects over millions of years. Science is always discovering new evidence, so our understanding of evolution continues to grow. Curiosity is one of humanity's greatest strengths. Every question brings us closer to understanding ourselves. Thanks for joining this journey through one of the most surprising stories in human evolution. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment with the next science question you'd like us to explore. See you in the next video.